Isha, that little girl that is so attached to Jinx. Who is she and what is the role that she has to play? I actually believe that her role is pivotal to Jinx's journey. So everyone put on your psychology hats and let's jump on in to Jinx and Isha. Jinx, here we have her. She's lost everything. And that feeling of hopelessness, of purposelessness, when all of the things that you fought for, all of the things that you've believed in, all of the pieces of how you see yourself have been lost. It's interesting because sometimes it's at our lowest where we can see all of that negative self-talk that has been haunting us. And even though it can feel really dark, it's also a place where we can take a look at all of those pieces and what effects they have for us. There are some personality traits that hitting rock bottom can actually make us become better people. And for others, it can just feel desolate. For those of you that might be feeling desolate or dark or alone, there is hope out there. We'll put down some links in the description for any of you that might be struggling. So I'll be calling her Isha. That seems to be on the internet what everyone calls her, but I can't find any official news to it. So if I'm wrong, I'm so sorry, but it's the little girl. Two things about this moment. One is when the man is startled because he sees Jinx. That's just so cool. It shows the gravity of who Jinx is and how everyone is frightened of her. And Jinx realizing exactly what's happening. For people to feel empathy, it is often when we have walked in someone else's shoes or we understand their journey. And for Jinx, she's been that child all alone, having to try to get by, being afraid of getting caught or getting hurt. So it makes perfect sense that Isha would be that person that Jinx would feel empathy for, feel care, because she has been there. A lot of times when we've been bullied or abused or traumatized, when we become adults or have that power, we want to be able to make a difference, to be able to fight for someone because we couldn't fight for ourselves then.
You feel it? That buzzing behind your eyes? Because you know in a moment, they could all... Ooh. Best feeling in the world, kid.
For Jinx, that's the best feeling in the world. She's so despondent. She has no feeling, no emotion. She doesn't care. She's lost all the things that she's cared about. Vi, Vander, Silco. And in her mind, it's all been at her hand. And in a lot of cases, she did have a role that she played in all of them. And so when we deal with all of these feelings of regret and angst and anger and self-hatred, we can be left with very little feeling. Almost like our baseline of nothing really matters. We don't really matter. We don't really care what happens to us, which can become a very dangerous place to be when you have nothing left to fight for.
Yep. That's me. You ever need to curse a sibling or a family or a society? My card.
Already dead inside.
When you have someone that has actually gone out on a limb and protected you and cared enough to keep you safe, you imprint really strongly, especially at a young age. The emotions that we feel to people, even if they've done something small, a small kindness when no one has, can be really strong. We want to be protected, to be cared about, to be thought of. And so her imprinting so strongly on Jinx makes a lot of sense. If you can think back to your childhood, the people that mattered to you, they're often those people that did something when you really needed it, when you felt at your lowest. We're adding for Isha that she did this under stress. We actually attach to people so much stronger when we're scared. We form emotional attachments of love and care, stronger when we're dealing with something that frightens us. So having that first date on a shaky bridge or on a big boat or going to a horror film, actually that does cause stronger emotional attachments than if we're doing something where we feel no fear. And so that kind of trauma bonding can have lasting impacts. Plus, at her age, her brain is so much more plastic, and that want to be able to be cared for, protected, is even greater. So this joining of both of them together in this moment makes a lot of sense for both of their journeys.
Never thought I'd catch you blubbering. Wonder if Silco even saw that.
Twice. When he met me, and when I killed him.
You?
It's always me. Whether I'm pulling the pin or not, everyone who gets close to me dies.
I think that's really significant also to Jinx, that when he puts the needle close to her eye, she moves towards it. She has no care for her own self-preservation. And it's in those moments where you can be reckless, or you can be damaging, or you can damage things just to watch it all burn. Sometimes you just want to feel anything because there's nothing left inside. And you can end up with all kinds of maladaptive coping mechanisms. Could be drugs, could be drinking, could be violence, could be sex, could be pushing those that you care about away because you believe that everything that gets close to you is going to get hurt or going to be destroyed.
You're the kind of guy who likes to get in close.
Who doesn't love Savika? There is something about Savika's strength and just being there. It's just such a cute look that Isha's been following Jinx around at a safe distance, and that acceptance just draws Isha in. Also, when we see people, when we feel powerless, we often are drawn to people that are powerful, that we believe can help us, protect us, keep us safe. Sometimes that's maladaptive, sometimes it's incorrect, or the person may be nefarious, and it doesn't really matter because any type of power or control is attractive when you have none. And for Jinx, she sees a lot of her own traits in Isha, this girl that's had to fight and be able to survive, that has no one, that's been abandoned, another orphan. We like people better often that we see traits and journeys that we saw ourselves in that we had to overcome. And that is often the people that we enjoy mentoring and pulling in and helping when we're in a better place ourselves. You like people that have done a similar journey to you or carry certain traits. You can also feel an aversion to that, but that's the kind of mirroring that we often do. In a way, we're actually trying to help ourselves, helping the person that we used to be, or we become the person that we wished we had ourselves when we were in that same place. And that also brings that call back to that feeling alive again, that Jinx isn't scared of a gunfight. And it's funny because you can see that Isha looks frightened at first, but then look at the next scene with her afterwards. I just love that fight. I also love that Jinx really calmly and kind of like a mischievous way tells Savika how to use her arm. Isha right away now feels safe enough to be next to Jinx. Instead of staying safe from the gunfight, she's mirroring and mimicking Jinx's behavior. The way that we learn to deal with stressful situations is often by looking at what someone else that we look up to is doing. The interesting part is that our brain in these moments are actually on record. When we are in stressful situations, even though we may not even remember, we are often going to react in a way someone is doing that we look up to. And so during this fight or flight experience, she's learned from Jinx that you feel alive, don't be afraid, and Isha comes towards her. So already she is mimicking Jinx's behavior, and that can happen for the good and for the bad. And you see how Isha looks to Jinx for her reaction when she's frightened? That also happens. So in a stressful situation or when you're young and you're hurt or damaged, the first thing that children often do is they look towards their mentor, the person that is their protector, to see how bad is this? Should I be frightened? And this is also really important for leaders. If you're calm under pressure, then everyone underneath you will also feel calm. But if you don't handle stress well, if you're showing signs of distress or that things are really bad, then other people, you end up with that contagion effect of everyone else having their anxiety levels also increase, which in a group that was actually really protective. That if things are okay and the leader said it's okay, we don't need to waste epinephrine, adrenaline on our systems to be able to keep ourselves safe. But if we could read from everyone else that there is a really big danger and we're already preset to have our adrenaline system working, then we are faster to be able to go into fight or flight, which increases our chances of survival. So doing this is not just mimicking, but it actually increases our chances of doing the right thing, especially if we've chosen to align with someone that is strong and understands what to do. And that's why a lot of people will gravitate to people that have strong leadership skills, or in some cases, people that believe they have strong leadership traits, even if they don't. So sometimes that could be money and power, even though they're actually not good at handling themselves under pressure.
Fancy meeting you here.
Moron never could keep his damn mouth shut.
So you can tell Isha's innocence by the way that she was poking at the body, testing out, is it really dead, is it not? A lot of times when we have someone that we look up to near us, we are much more bold. We will test things out. When we think that we have backup, we might do or say something that we wouldn't do if we're all alone.
Go on. I'm ready. I'm glad it's you. Had to be you.
Yes, we are going to have to go fully through the journey of both Vi and Jinx. Won't be right now, but we will.
No!
And that is the first time that I've seen Jinx really worried. And I wonder if she's worried about Isha hurting her sister or about Isha getting hurt herself. But you can feel those really raw emotions in Jinx in this moment. She didn't care anything about herself and her own possible demise. In some ways, it seems like Jinx embraces it, but now you can feel that response of wanting to keep someone safe. And I think it's a little bit of both. And you just feel how palpable that is of Isha wanting to keep Jinx safe. The person that saved her life, that killed for her, she wants to be able to do the same thing for Jinx also, even though you can tell that it's against her nature. And there's also that thought of child soldiers and how they can be even more brutal, especially if you've learnt to go past that failsafe of protecting people in early childhood. You can often commit even more brutality and atrocities without feeling that. It gets kind of taken from you instead of growing and enhancing. So what happens to you in childhood has a great effect on who you become in later life. And because the prefrontal cortex is not fully developed yet until 25, the area that deals with consequences to actions. So often you do things and it's more reactions. You don't even think about the consequences to that. You just have a knee-jerk reaction. So we're also not fully cooked yet at this age, and so we can do stuff without really conscious thought. And it's also really interesting, the difference of Vi also saying no, wanting to protect this child, her not hurting her, even though she could just throw her away or take away the gun. From Kaylin's point, kind of looking at the people of Zahn as less than, versus Vi and Jinx, who have been that child, have had to take in other people, other orphans. Their reaction towards children is definitely really different.
What are you? Get off me! Get away from her! Kate, move!
That's the moment. That's the moment that brings everything together. I'm gonna get emotional. That moment of Isha grabbing hold of Jinx, that unbridled care and want, that totally mimics the time with Silco, when Powder grabs hold of Silco and he doesn't know what to do, and he slowly embraces her. And for all of them, that's the thing that has changed everyone in Arcane. When Vander saw the repercussions of the war that he helped create, and he walked onto the bridge as a fighter, and he came off the bridge as a father, holding them. And for Silco, when he realized that he actually cared about Jinx.
1,000 times I've imagined this moment. All we ever wanted. And what do I lose but problems? Oh, it all makes sense now, brother. Is there anything so undoing as a daughter?
And again, yes, it was not the perfect relationship, but that completely changed the things that he wanted. It altered who he became. He was willing to risk his want for power to be able to save Jinx. And so this is the moment where I really think that Isha is going to be that thing that helps Jinx be able to want more. Often when we look at ourselves through someone else's eyes, when someone believes in us so much, we often want to be better people. We want to be able to give them something to believe in. And I believe that that is exactly what Isha is going to be to Jinx's journey. This is what's going to make Jinx go from this rogue fighter that is trying to burn everything to this freedom fighter that wants to be able to protect everyone and give them something to believe in, because she's going to see herself through Isha's eyes. And is that at all something that is realistic to human psychology? Yes, absolutely. Just being able to see the world from a different place, to want to be better for something, to want to create something better, and to be able to have someone that believes in you. Even one person can make the world of difference and make you want to be better.
Scram, kid! Kate! She's a child! Move! She's not getting away again! Kate!
And you see Jinx hold her after that. She has this fight or flight reaction, her disorganized attachment type, where sometimes she's avoidant and sometimes she's anxiously attached. That touch that she has, that she's able to hold her there, I think is also really significant. Not understanding what it is, but it looks exactly the same way that Silco then gently embraced Powder before he even had an attachment to her. But I think that that's the same thing, that he saw pieces of himself in her. And I think that it is also really important that because in Zahn there is so much poverty, abject poverty, especially for all of the young, all of the orphans, they had to work together. They had to be a group. That was the only way that they could survive. It was the only way that they could have any control and keep each other alive. That's the thing that for Powder and Vi that they really understand. And I think that that's why they have an affinity, especially to other children, to other orphans, to be able to protect them, because that was what Vander taught them. And Also, in a lot of ways, Silco as well, though he did it more for power.
No, 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 this isn't how it's supposed to.
And you see that? Jinx, again, protects Isha. She curls around her to keep her safe at her own risk of bodily harm. And I love that Jinx curls around and jumps behind, but makes sure that she's protecting Isha at the same time. And then, of course, Savika goes over and protects them both. And that shows our affinity. How do we know when someone actually cares about something? It's when we will take our own personal risk, our own personal damage in order to keep something safe. When we will lose something that matters to us or pay our own personal cost, that's what shows that we really care. And Jinx is putting her own life at risk to be able to make sure that she keeps Isha safe. So for Jinx, I believe that Isha is going to be that cornerstone that is going to change her from one, not caring about anything and being despondent, but to wanting something better, to be able to protect the people of Zaun. I think that Isha is going to be that catalyst in Jinx's story, that turning point that is going to make her want to take up that role of being able to be that icon that people can fight for. You can let me know what your thoughts are of Isha and Jinx's story in the comments below, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video.